Hey guys, welcome back to We Watched a Movie. I am Mike. Today we're talking about the Terrifier 2 official novelization by Tim Waggoner. Tim Waggoner's a guy who's done a bunch of horror novelizations. We had him on the show because he did the Halloween Kills novelization, which added a bunch of lore and cool stuff to that movie. Very nice guy, super cool dude. The book's available now. We're going to be going through 15 different things that the book adds to the movie, whether it be Art the Clown or the lore, extra deaths, all sorts of cool stuff. But we're just going to be scratching the surface of this stuff. I'm not going to show the entire thing. The book is absolutely worth a read, especially if you're a huge Terrifier fan. It's out now. We're not trying to take away from that at all, but there's some really cool stuff in it. So now that it's been out for a little bit, let's talk about it, starting with the opening scene where the Morgue guy gets killed by Art the Clown. It adds a lot to this scene. First off, it lets us know for sure something that you probably suspected, but you can't smell a movie, and that's that Art smells like absolute buns. And I bet the same is true for Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees and a bunch of these folks. I have a hard time believing that any of these horror icons wipe appropriately. Secondly, the scene where Art's walking out, when the movie opens, he's walking out of one of the rooms of the morgue, and you can see the lights and stuff flashing behind him, and you can hear kind of a hiss. Here it explains this as a supernatural occurrence coming from somewhere, almost helping Art or seemingly giving him energy. It says when he comes to life, all hell breaks loose, the lights start shaking, there's a loud sound that comes out over the radio that sounds like screaming, there's even a voice that says you're going to love it here that comes out over the radio, and it seems like this huge energy surge that comes back to life along with Art, which just adds to his other supernatural situations. After he kills the morgue attendant, there's two more deaths that come out. We learn all about these two paramedics, how nice they are, only to find out that Art is going to brutally murder the living bejesus out of them. He kills the woman paramedic, and you find out that he's ripped off her nipples and her clitoris and tongues and all sorts of stuff. There's a nasty couple deaths that happens, and then as Art leaves, he notices a breakfast bag in the ambulance, and he picks it up, pulls out a croissant because he's famished, and something's just not quite right. Something's missing, and Art picks up the dude paramedic's tongue and puts it on there, and then walks around eating this dude's tongue on his way to the laundromat, which is fucked up, man. It's a tongue croissant. Going forward, when he gets to the laundromat, he meets a little pale girl there. Most of the stuff there happens the same, but it does explain in detail how she actually is giving him energy. When she sticks her finger inside of his eyeball and rubs it around like that, it says that he felt himself healing from that. He felt a new energy from her. He was tired, he was hurt from all the stuff that happened before, and when she showed up, he started to immediately heal, feel better, and get a new energy about him. So there's something about her literally sent there to help him, right along with whatever was going on with the electrical searches and the radio back at the morgue. We find out how Art gets his van because he runs up to a guy in the street and he's like miming to him to his wallet that he likes his van, and the guy's like, yeah, I'm gonna go now, because it's a clown in the street trying to buy your van by miming his wallet. This is the kind of shit that would happen to me in public, by the way. I always run into the weirdest fucks. Art climbs on the hood of the car T-1000 style, and the guy doesn't know that he rides home with him. He gets to the guy's house, he takes him hostage, makes him go in the basement, and then we find out that this dude who we've learned about, he's been talking about his lover that he loves so much forever in his own inner monologue in his head, and then we find out that his lover is this girl he's got trapped in the basement who he's making live in a cage, who he takes out and sexually assaults and all this stuff like that, all sorts of horrible stuff, I'm sure. He explains himself to Art because Art's like, what the fuck is going on? And being the girl in the cage, I like her inner monologue as well, because she's like, I can tell like that this is not a good guy either, so I don't know what to do with my hands in this situation. And Art kills the guy, but here's the kicker: he doesn't save the girl because he's Art the Clown, but he does do something in a way that's almost nice. After he slits the guy's throat, he takes a weapon and leaves it to her in the cage. So he's like, I'm not going to let you out, but I'll give you a choice. You can either stay here and die, basically, or kill yourself in a cage, which is fucked up in its own right. So with Brennan dead and the van acquired Grand Theft Auto style, fucked up Grand Theft Auto style, this reminds me of a scene that would have been in a movie like Running Scared, which is a great underrated Paul Walker movie. When they go to I won't even say what it is in case you haven't seen it, but they go to the house, the little kid goes to the house, and they find out about those people that take him in. Just absolutely bonkers, tits, crazy. Jonathan, this one's nuts. I definitely get why this wasn't in the movie, because man, the effects and what this scene would have cost only to have it end up being a dream sequence would have been nuts. But Jonathan's trick-or-treating, and he goes up to a house with just crazy, amazing decorations everywhere. Really gross stuff. There's dead bodies all over the place. There's really gross amalgamations of dead bodies like sewn together. Really gross, well explained shit in the book. But Jonathan goes up to the door, trick-or-treats the doorbell, and it's Art the Clown who shows up, and he's standing there holding a bucket full of nasty ass eyeballs. And Jonathan's not sure if it's real or not, so he's trying to play it off, and he's picking up eyeballs and throwing them at his face. And then when he goes to leave, one of the amalgamations, which is like a giant crab made of human parts, disgustingness, like chases after him. It's a really intricate, nasty scene that happens. But then he wakes up. And this all takes place right when Sienna's having her clown cafe dream as well. The mom has a dream as well in this scene where she is looking at her phone and it's a picture of her and her kids, and then these yellow eyes pop up on it and it's Art the Clown. The next thing she knows, she's in the car with her husband who has since died, and his face is almost shapeless. He almost has no features, just one of those weird dream situations. And he runs into a deer that, as they get closer to the deer, realizes it's not a deer at all. It's like an Art the Clown deer type shit. Again, this was a bit expensive. It probably looked weird. But there's this whole nasty scene that takes place where these rats come out and all this gross stuff happens. It's a fucked up Rob Zombie level style dream for her, for sure. Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 to be specific. But those dreams both took place at the time when Sienna's room caught fire. So it's almost like the whole family's connected in that way. The book always paints a little bit of color on top of what we sort of knew already about the sword after the fire. It says that when she looks at it, she thinks to herself that it almost looks like a brand new sword. It looks like it's almost been reborn, like it went through a fire and was reborn. So that fire specifically did something to that sword, allegedly, if you listen to the book. The book also explains more about her costume that her dad made for her, that the belt had a bird skull with feathers on it, and that represents, in her mind, this yin-yang of necessary opposites, which the Terrifier 2 is clearly added some lore to where all that could go. But if you look it up, what a winged bird skull means, it could have multiple meanings. It could mean life and death, it could mean a soul's journey, or it could mean spiritual guidance. So this just all adds to the lore, and there's going to be more stuff in here that adds to that too, that suggests that obviously this is something supernatural that's going on, or spiritual, or something of that nature. And we get yet another really cool death scene, a double death scene that's not in the movie itself, and my god is it gross. So two of the kids that were fucking around with that possum at the school with Jonathan are walking at night, and they're going to toilet paper this girl's house when the little girl shows up in the street. Little pale girl shows up, and she's walking the possum like it's a dog. Later on, she's picking maggots off of and eating them like they're fucking chiclets. But she shows up, and then Art shows up and kills these two little assholes. They're like the Mulaney's basically in Halloween Kills. But he kills these kids, and he stabs them like it says he stabs them right above their like groin, and then guts them, pulls it all the way up, and then he lets their intestines spill out into the street. And you hear that it's really kind of a messed up thing how Tim writes it. It's haunting, because the kid's inner monologue while this is happening, looking at his friends, knowing that they're gonna die, and what's going on in their mind. It's really messed up, actually. It creeps me out for sure. I'm pretty sure it gave me a nightmare or 5. But he takes them, and he takes their intestines, and he toilet papers this dude's house basically with their intestines. He drapes their trees with intestines, and the two little kids' bodies are at the bottom of the tree, headless. And he's taken their head and shoved it into their stomach like a fucking man-o'-lantern. It's disgusting. So disgusting that the guys whose house he toilet papered walked outside, saw it, and went so nutso just from the sight that he actually had to go to a mental institution. One thing here that you have to read the book for is the Terrifier ride itself. There is tons of extra information about the ride itself, the location about it, about where it started, and this ride where all this bad stuff happened at has a lot of history to it and has something to do with everything that's been going on around here. For decades, there's been questionable murders, people who've died inside of it, bad luck to the owners of it, and they have these actual news clippings and articles for a couple pages of the book. It's really, really cool, but it definitely says that a lot of bad shit, a lot of murders and awful things have happened inside the Terrifier ride itself. So you gotta think that's got something to do with something around here. And on the other side of the spectrum, in the scene where he kills Brooke's boyfriend, there is a lot more of him playing around with that guy's dick. I mean, not a lot more, but in that situation, there's a little more is a lot more. A little goes a long way. And what I'm saying is, after he rips the guy's dick off, sashimi, he takes it and he puts it on his head like a unicorn and starts galloping like he's got a dick unicorn on his head. It's fantastic. And then it's really gross because he squeezes it, mimes jacking it off, and then squeezes it and blood comes out on the car windshield. Holy fuck tits. He even says about Brooke, and I love this for her because I love that character. I think Terrifier's done a great job of making the especially in 2 and 3, making the characters that are fodder for deaths actually be interesting and likable and at least entertaining. And I love Brooke, man. I kind of wish she could have survived, but I love for her that there's a scene in here where after she kicks him in the head, he looks at her and he thinks to himself that she could be just as formidable as Sienna possibly, so we better be careful with her. And he also notices that her hair looked fabulous, and it must have taken her forever to do it. I love that Art fucking thought that. It makes me laugh and like a sick prick. So we go into the really spiritual stuff, the crazy stuff that happened inside the Terrifier after Art's killed her, essentially stabbed her. She's in that weird water cabinet that she's floating around in. She goes to this peaceful oblivion in the book, and you can definitely understand why this wasn't in the movie. A, it would have been really hard to film. B, it sounds really expensive. She's basically died, and she's floating in this peaceful oblivion, and all this has gone away from her. She's happy, she feels safe, she's totally at peace. And then all of a sudden she's not, and these 6 spirits kind of show up, and then you realize these spirits are the people that she's known or whatever that Art's killed. It's her friend, her mom is one of the spirits, and they basically tell her that she has to keep fighting. She can't stay here in this peaceful place. There's more for her to do. There's things that she has to do, and that they will heal her and they will help her. And then at one point she asks her mom in this conversation, she says, hey, what was that thing that grabbed my leg? There's a thing in the water cabinet that reaches up and grabs her leg and tries to pull her down. It was like an octopus kind of thing is how it was explained, and her mom tells her, trust me, you don't want to know. So that's going forward with where we're going. That has to come into play at some point, something that you might not even notice in the movie that I feel like is going to actually end up being pretty important down the line. But then the 6 souls come together and magic school bus, Honey I Shrunk the Kid style, fly inside of her wounds, the spirits do, and then she's healed and she comes back out to fight Art the Clown. So that's a lot of stuff right there that was not in the movie, but it paints a picture for sure. And then finally, the last thing that we'll talk about is that Sienna does notice during the final scene when the little pale girl smiles at her and takes Art's head and fucks off. She noticed that the little pale girl seems even more hateful than Art the Clown himself and more powerful than Art the Clown himself. So this and earlier, there's a moment where they mention that Vicky was seeing the little pale girl before everything went crazy, when she went nutso fuckso and ate the other girl's face off. So I think there's just a lot more to the little pale girl than we know. Not a part of 3, but there's some extra accoutrement to be laid upon that. So guys, yeah, that's 15 things, around 15 things. Could have been 16, could have been 14. I don't know. How's your mother? Good. She's tired from fucking my father. My point is this: that was fun to do. It was a fun book to read. I definitely recommend it. And at the end of this video, I'll have our interview with Tim Wagner about Halloween Kills, so you can get a little bit of insight to how he does these books. It's really cool. And yeah, thanks for watching this. I appreciate all of you guys. Stay subscribed and all that stuff. Click the bell for all things Terrifier and Scream and Halloween and all that good stuff. We'll be live on Tuesday night. I love your all's fucking faces. I hope you have a great Thanksgiving week, and we shall talk soon. What are you going to do on October 31st?
What are you going to do on October 31st?
Here comes that white-faced fucker, an asshole like no other. He's a big old piece of shit. Wants to stab your sister's tits cause he's a white-faced fucker. Loomis can't recover. Dr. Challenge drunk again, sleeping with your sister's friends.
Do you want to know about the darkness?
I said, goddamn.
Goddamn, you faggot!
I said, goddamn.
A lot of people don't know the darkness that goes inside their hearts.
I said, goddamn.